Chinese young people share beds with strangers to save expenses. Peking University professor, monthly income of 280 million people is less than $97. More negative news for China's economy as two leading real estate giants report huge losses. Flood disasters further burden Chinese economy, President Joe Biden issues weighty warning. It's all covered in today's China Truths. Chinese young people share beds with strangers to save expenses. As the unemployment crisis among Chinese youth worsens, young individuals struggling in major cities like Shanghai and Beijing have found a way to reduce their living expenses, sharing a bed with strangers. Advertisements for shared bed spaces have surged on China's version of Instagram, Xiaohongshu. Differing from the Western concept of hot bedding, where occupants take turns sleeping to save on rent, in China, bedmates actually share the same bed and split the room costs. This intimate form of accommodation has prompted young Chinese renters to explore new ways of maintaining personal boundaries. The phrase same room, same bed, different covers is a common slogan in these shared bed space ads. For example, a young woman who is renting out a bed space in Baoshan, Shanghai, and couldn't afford the rent on her own since her friend moved out, wrote in the advertisements, "No snoring, occasional sleep talking, wakes up around 9 a.m., sleeps around 9 p.m., Tuesday is a rest day." She also hopes that her bedmate will be a lady. Another post shared a bed space in the center of Beijing at a monthly price of $250, welcoming clean-loving ladies. With the economic recovery prospects remaining entirely bleak, young individuals in China are feeling uncertain about the future. As previously stated, the official statistics from the Chinese Communist Party reveal that China's youth unemployment rate spiked to 21.3% in June. However, some experts believe the actual number to be higher. Additionally, the projected count of university graduates expected to enter the country's job market this year is 11.58 million, adding further pressure to the young population. This has led to the emergence of shared bed spaces, a way to save on expenses, as mentioned above. According to a report by the news website Youth36KR, with the same room, same bed, different covers trend, these young people fulfilled the simplest wish, to no longer be burdened by rent and lead a normal life. Peking University professor, monthly income of 280 million people is less than $97. The momentum behind China's economic recovery after the pandemic is diminishing, as domestic demand continues to remain sluggish. As mentioned in the previous news report, China is currently grappling with a severe deflationary spiral. We will provide an analysis of this situation in upcoming news articles. Back to the topic of the news, on August 9, Lu Qiao, dean of the Guanghua School of Management at Peking University, told the paper that China isn't transitioning into a low-desire society, rather, it's that people's income levels are too low, leading to severely suppressed demand. According to him, among the over 1 billion Chinese population, how many lack passports? How many haven't ridden high-speed trains or airplanes? How many have never left their own city for their entire lives? These are not caused by low desires. On the contrary, I'm more concerned about the societal issues that could arise from not meeting people's needs. Lu also revealed that statistical data indicates around 280 million people in China have an annual income of less than 8,400 yuan, approximately $1,161, and boosting demand and expanding consumption has become one of the most critical tasks in China's current economic efforts. But how? According to Lu, the way to revive China's current economy lies in relying on short-term fiscal policies and utilizing transfer payments to directly stimulate demand. If a fiscal helicopter mechanism were implemented, providing a subsidy of 10,000 yuan, about $1,550, per person per year to these 280 million individuals, their annual income would rise from 8,400 to 18,400 yuan, approximately $2,542, effectively increasing their monthly income from 700 to 1,500 yuan, about $207. He said, "I believe that most people would use this money for consumption." Many pent-up inflexible needs that haven't been met for a long time could be fulfilled after fiscal transfer payments, such as going from eating meat once a month to once a week. Mr. Liu's statement has sparked lively discussions on Chinese social media platforms. A prominent Weibo user stated, "Finally, a professor has spoken some sense. Last year, the median disposable income for our citizens was 31,370 yuan, approximately $4,860, which means that half of the people have a monthly income below 2,500 yuan, about $390. And what can you buy with 2,500 yuan? Only those who manage their household finances know how insufficient this money is." Another netizen wrote, 1% of people hold 99% of the wealth, while 99% of people struggle for 1% of the wealth. Everything is getting more expensive, except wages are dropping, and even job security is uncertain. The so-called low desire is nothing more than poverty. More negative news for China's economy as two leading real estate giants report huge losses. Amid a sharp drop in China's exports and the first occurrence of monetary tightening in 2 years, the real estate industry in China is facing yet another blow. On the night of August 10, one of China's largest real estate developers, Country Garden, disclosed in a document submitted to the Hong Kong Stock Exchange that its net loss for the first half of 2023 could reach as high as 55 billion yuan, approximately $7.63 billion. The company cited a decline in real estate sales as one of the contributing factors. The day after, Country Garden stock plummeted over 5% on the Hong Kong Stock Exchange. Earlier this week, Country Garden indicated that the company was unable to make timely payments for 2 bond interest payments totaling $22 million, highlighting the tight cash situation the company is facing. Adding to this, Moody's, a reputable credit rating agency, recently downgraded Country Garden's credit rating by 3 levels on the 10th of this month, moving it from the B1 level of junk bonds to the higher default risk CAA1 level. Similarly, on the same day, another Chinese real estate giant, Evergrande, released its financial report, revealing a net loss of 52.7 billion yuan, approximately $7.28 billion, last year, indicating its current insolvency. This situation mirrors that of most leading domestic real estate companies in China, which are still experiencing dismal performance this year. Confronted with financial pressures, prominent firms such as Vanke, Greenland Holdings, Oceanwide, and New World Development are also at risk of potential chain reactions of debt defaults. Over the past 3 years of the pandemic, the strict lockdown measures imposed by the CCP have caused the Chinese economy to contract, resulting in a record-high youth unemployment rate and weakened consumer demand. Experts point out that if the real estate market were to collapse now, it would be a severe blow to the Chinese economy. Tian Xia, a professor at the Darla Moore School of Business at the University of South Carolina, commented, "This economy might even regress to a state similar to that of 20 years ago, around the time when China joined the World Trade Organization in 2001, as both internal and external drivers of economic growth have vanished." Real estate heiress experiences greater wealth loss than any other billionaire. The blow to China's real estate sector has led to a blow to the assets of property owners. According to the latest findings from the Bloomberg Billionaires Index, Asia's once richest woman, Yang Huiyan, 42 years old, has seen her wealth plummet by 84%. Specifically, Ms. Yang's wealth has dropped by 84% to $5.3 billion from nearly $33.2 billion in June 2021. This is the largest dollar decline among ultra-rich individuals monitored by Bloomberg's Wealth Index during this time frame. Ms. Yang is also the CEO of Country Garden Holdings, the company that has recently been added to the list of a series of Chinese real estate companies that are on the brink of default. The Chinese real estate industry is in a really bad shape. The crisis worsened following the government's tightening of property sector laws in an attempt to reduce excessive borrowing and speculation. The so-called 3 red lines policy, implemented in 2020, put limits on developers' debt ratios, making it difficult to refinance growing loans. The subsequent financial constraint resulted in unprecedented offshore defaults, the loss of billions of dollars in investments, and the postponement of the construction of thousands of homes. Homeowners had paid deposits or mortgages for unfinished flats, yet faced delays or cancellations of their projects. Their unhappiness and protests also led to large-scale mortgages defaults, or demands of reimbursements from the developers. These factors combined to create a vicious cycle of falling sales, rising loans, and lower property investment, which threatened to destabilize the financial system and the broader economy. Property tycoons in China responded to the crackdown differently, depending on their financial standing and relationship with the regime. Some tycoons have attempted to work with authorities and comply with restrictions by donating land, lowering prices, or requesting bailouts. For example, Su Jiayin, the chairman of Evergrande Group, for example, had vowed to donate $1 billion to charities and social causes. To avoid default, he also agreed to sell some of his assets and repay some of his obligations. Some tycoons have also diversified their enterprises and lessened their vulnerability in the real estate sector by investing in other industries or expanding internationally. Li Ka-shing, the founder of CK Asset Holdings Limited, for example, has been selling his property assets in mainland China and Hong Kong and investing in the technology, healthcare, and infrastructure industries. He also owns real estate in Europe, North America, and Australia. Flood disasters further burden Chinese economy, President Joe Biden issues weighty warning. Following the factors presented regarding the indicators of China's current economic recession, such as decelerating growth, plummeting exports, mounting local debt, or real estate crisis, unemployment, and deflation. In addition, the United States has imposed investment restrictions on China, and if other countries follow suit, the situation might deteriorate further. At this time, many places in China suffered severe disasters, which made the Chinese economy even worse. According to data released by the CCP's Ministry of Emergency Management on the 4th, various natural disasters that occurred in China in July resulted in 16.018 million people being affected, with 147 deaths or missing persons due to disasters. The direct economic losses exceeded the sum of January to June, reaching 41.18 billion yuan, around $6.37 billion. The CCP's Ministry of Finance website announced that on August 8, an emergency allocation of 732 million yuan, approximately $113.5 million, in agricultural production disaster prevention and relief funds was made to support a total of 9 provinces, autonomous regions, municipalities, in conducting flood control and disaster relief, as well as post-disaster recovery work. Previously, on August 4, the Ministry of Finance and the Ministry of Water Resources announced an emergency allocation of 450 million yuan, about $69.8 million, in Central Financial Water Conservancy disaster relief funds to support the repair of damaged levees and other water conservancy engineering facilities in the Beijing-Tianjin-Hebei region. Despite disaster losses running into tens of billions, the relief and reconstruction funds currently proposed by the CCP amount to only a few billion yuan, which is causing concerns. Professor Sher Helling from Monash University Business School in Australia stated to Voice of America that this underscores how, during the past 3 years of the COVID-19 pandemic, after China's central and local governments rigorously implemented the zero-COVID policy at a substantial cost, their finances are now strained and struggling to cope. According to Sher, the actual losses should be at least more than 10 times the officially reported data. However, the CCP hasn't put in much money for disaster relief and reconstruction, not because they don't want to, but because they simply don't have the funds left. He also highlighted that even before this recent flood disaster, regions heavily affected by flooding like Hebei and Heilongjiang were already grappling with significant debt burdens. Therefore, the current flood crisis, coupled with China's sluggish economic recovery, is an added blow. Since the government hasn't been providing real-time subsidies, the road to reconstruction for those affected and the revival of businesses in the disaster-stricken areas is anticipated to be even more protracted. This situation may potentially further erode the purchasing power of Chinese consumers. Although the extent of the damages remains unclear due to limited transparency, Sher believes that the cumulative impact of flooding could impose long-lasting strains on China's economy. Wang Guochen, an assistant researcher at the Tsinghua Institution for Economic Research in Taipei, raised another issue that, at the start of the year, Beijing authorities have actively been encouraging young individuals from rural areas who face unemployment in cities to return to their hometowns. However, the recent flood disaster has dealt a severe blow to local finances and agricultural sectors, possibly hindering the feasibility of these young people returning to rural regions. How the situation will unfold in the near future, we can only wait and see. Biden says China's economy is ticking time bomb. In this context, President Joe Biden referred to China's economy as a ticking time bomb on Thursday, asserting that China has some problems. That's not good because when bad folks have problems, they do bad things. The comment drew the ire of Beijing. State-run media Xinhua responded on Friday by accusing U.S. politicians and Western media of using China's economic problem as another topic to badmouth the second-largest economy in the world. According to Hal Brands, a professor of global affairs at the Johns Hopkins University School of Advanced International Studies, SAIS, historically, when the economies of emerging powers slow down and geopolitical issues multiply, they tend to become more assertive. China is facing these problems today. As its economy encounters difficulties, it will find it harder to surpass the United States as the world's top superpower. Consequently, as its military capabilities mature, China could take more assertive actions in the short term to lock in gains while they are still possible. That's why the danger of a Taiwan war is higher in this decade, because China will have more military capability than ever before while its economy peaks and starts declining, relative to the United States. Nonetheless, Matthew Kronig, Vice President and Senior Director at the Atlantic Council's Scowcroft Center for Strategy and Security, observed that President Xi Jinping might possess a skewed perception of reality. Xi genuinely believes he's enhancing China's strength while the United States is declining. This leads Kronig to worry that this situation could potentially escalate into a conflict. Experts in international relations often attribute wars to misjudgments. This scenario bears similarity to Russia, where President Vladimir Putin mistakenly believed he could easily annex Ukraine. Don't forget to leave a comment in the section below to share your opinions on today's topic with us. Make sure to like and subscribe to see more interesting topics from China Truths.